All right, so this topic right here is just for me to, you know, to reflect on where I stand with my podcasting. I know I already mentioned to Neil, you know, just mainly Neil. I know I briefly had mentioned it to both him and the boss when we hung out um, the last Wednesday, and then I just want to get a little more thorough with this as far as you know, where I'm at with it. And it turns out like, as I scroll down through all the videos that I made in reference to my podcasting, I actually started on February 21st. I I I had thought that I started in late January, so I was wrong about that. And so it turns out that I actually started in February, not you know late February, not late January. So I was wrong there. Okay. Um, so you know, since then, I had planned to only do like a couple while I was away from my social circle and my friend circle at the time, because I wasn't sure, you know, if I was gonna go any further, and I only wanted to address what I wanted to address, and mainly where I stand with my friend circle, where I stand with the Nutbwallers ever since the group text incident. I even had a 3-part video on that toward the end of March, and you know, while I was out, I was hoping that originally I would reconnect with all of these guys when I already have a new job. And yes, to my credit, I've been very, very active. Um, just competitively job hunting. I remember that one weekend in February that where I applied to 20 jobs. Um, both Saturday and Sunday, combined, and it's like, you know, I haven't had much luck, and so I thought I would have been able to to find one sooner, because I know that was the perfect time for me to do it, since I know that I'm not having to deal with anyone, not even the Nutballers. And so by doing that, I thought, once I get it, then I would definitely get back in touch with those guys, and even going back to social media. Now, of course, I still have not been back on social media. Um, and ever since, ever since I, you know, ever since you know, I I ran away from my friend circle, right? Since I distanced myself. So, you know, um, I made it clear in the last video that I was going to come back once I am at least 90% mentally right, and um, that I would, that I already have a new job, which will really, bump up at least 50% of, of my mental health, to where I already started a new life because of a new job. So that was the only time I would come back, and it's why right now I'm still away from these Nutballer group chats, because of my mental health. The only time I went on was, for the Damian Lillard news, and that was in the only group chat that had, all these guys that are all about sports, and watching sports or doing sports, and Nathan was included in that chat. So, um, yeah. So right now, it still stands to this day that I'm still refusing to go back to Facebook and Instagram, or just social media in general, for as long as I'm not at that rate yet. You know, saying that I'll be 90% of who I am. So as of right now, like, I'm just fine texting my friends, and since I already reconnected with all of them, and like I said, I actually started doing this unofficial podcasting, No Ballers podcasting in late February. Not late January. It's actually late February, as I make myself clear. February 21st was my very first you know podcast, supposed podcast episode where I mainly talked about where I stand with my friend circle and yes, and the Nutbwallers as well. I remember having rotating images of my Christmas memorial wall, and what was it? I think I had the Valentine's one as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I even had some, just a couple images. I think one of them was me in like edited, that I was in a jail cell, and the other guys are, right next to me on the other side of the picture. That was from when we hung out at the what was it, the South Coast, was it South Coast Plaza? Yeah, South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa with all the Christmas stickers. That was with Abbas, Neil, Russ, and instead of me in there, I have Carlos and Ray. So it's just kind of a silly image, but so yeah, that's my official start of the start of my podcasting, unofficial start. Because originally I didn't want to do so many, because my first few videos have been about where I stand with my friend circle, where I stand with the Nutbwallers, where I stand with my life. That's what it's been all about. I even had made, a couple more videos in March, to see where I stand with it. And I told myself it was going to be the last time doing that, like toward the end of March. And obviously I know what happened toward then that pretty much just, got me to feel what I felt going into April and May. But, and now it's already July, and I found myself just doing more and more of these kind of podcasts. So the original plan that I was going to do, the Nutbwallers podcasting with Russ, Abbas, or anyone from the Nutbwallers, that original idea that I had been discussing with Russ and Neil, and even Abbas, like last year, that's been, the start has been officially me first. Like a lot, that the start has been a lot of me just doing solo videos, and obviously I started my first official one with Neil and Abbas just this week on Wednesday. That was my first official start, even though it's a lot of rambling, but that's the first official start that I've been wanting to do. So like I said, I'm going to do more of these in the future. Once the more I hang with these guys, I know I just reconnected with them just last month. I know I'm not going to have these regular hangouts, and what I mean by that is these how often I used to do these hangouts going back from last year and earlier, where I would hang out with these guys in groups, like once or twice a week, groups of 3 or 4 or 5, the usual. Because right now with a lot going on, especially in my home life, I had to limit myself as much as I could. See, fortunately I had this 2-week break for me to do my thing, except with just Abbas and Neil. And even with just those 2 guys, I still came home pretty late. It was like well past 10. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I'm definitely willing to do more of these Nutballer podcasts with whoever I hang out with next, and I'll definitely come up with topics that are Nutballers related. For example, like, what is your most favorite Nutballers hangout, or what is your favorite memory of what you did with this Nutballer or that Nutballer, or what is your craziest moment, this and that. I'll start coming out with topics as I continue this unofficial, not unofficial, as I continue with this podcasting. My unofficial start was just me, doing a lot. All of these have been solo since February 21st. And like I said, I thought I'd be done after the end of March, but it turns out I found myself just doing more and more and more. And yes, a lot of it was just where I stand with my life and how I how I'm confronting such situations, that are negative, and how to better my life. And obviously it's just a lot of that, and going into May as well. But and yes, I've talked about my friendship failures in April. That one got some pretty, some pretty big number of views and all that. And I'll get into viewership for a second. So as of right now, and I even started doing these my friendship with topics. I think the first person I started with was Tristan, and then I think I started like in May, where I did my friendships with my friendship with Tristan, and I did Robbie and Julio. At the time, that was out of my circle, to where I assumed both of those guys were done with me. Actually, no, I take that back. To where I thought Robbie was officially done with me at the time. And Julio, at the time, made it clear he was not done with me. So this is in May, where I started doing these friendship topics and my friendships with, and obviously it started with those three guys. And then eventually I went on to do Russ and Dewey. I even assumed that Dewey was done with me, and me thinking that this one chance may not be, may just end quickly because of what, the fact that I've been out for so long. But, since Dewey and I are cool now, then there's really, nothing to worry about, because, he made it clear to me, he thought, oh, maybe, because I've been out of my circle, I must have been taking a break, right? So it's good to see me reconnect with him. It's also good to see me reconnect with both Robbie and Julio, especially since I hung out with Julio just last month. We had a good time. And also with, reconnecting with Robbie, So, I got to reevaluate what I said in those friendship with videos, because obviously at that time, I've done them in May, and so I was still out of my circle then. So, I mean, maybe I should start doing like what do you call it? Like after I go through all these other friendship, or these other my friendship with topics. I already been covering a lot of people. I covered all the Nutbwallers already, and even guys like Anastasia, Ray, Cecilia, Vivian, Mary, and just today, Dave. I'm gonna go on maybe like a few more that I listed down. Some of these guys don't even know my other friends, and they're not from the Nutbwallers. So Nick's another one I gotta cover. I may possibly do a redo with some of these guys like Dewey, Robbie, Julio, and yeah, just just based on what I said in May, to where I thought it was just that of what I thought of them. So now it's a whole different story. Like I said, I'm back with my friend circle, mainly the Nutbwallers. I'm still not on social media, and as a to this day, like I think an average number of video uploads that I had is like, I'll admit it. As of right now, I think it's an average is like 4 or 5 uploads a day. I know it sounds insane. Even Neil thought that was insane. But before, I used to be like, I think as I started doing more of these, like in May, it was like 2 or 3, or actually, I think it started becoming 4 or 5, even in May. So I started doing a whole lot, and I mean, I could do a count, but I'm probably gonna say these number of podcasts I made since February 21 is probably 100 or more already. That's my wildest estimation ever since I started doing these podcasts. So I'm gonna say 100 or more. I mean, but I gotta do a count. although I feel somewhat it's not 100, it might be close to that. But I gotta see first. But anyways, yeah, it's already a lot of uploads, and yes, I know it sounds insane when I upload about 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 a day. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's something I enjoy doing. Inspired. I find myself inspired to do these from some of the sports guys that I listen to, and even some of the mainstream ones like the Odd Couple and First Things First, because they have their podcast episodes as well. You know, and the Odd Couple is technically a podcast show. It's a radio show, but it's they do podcasts as well. And guys I listen to, like the small content creators like Dreamers Pro and Too Raw, Ticket TV, Fit Sports and Fitness Rants. Those guys I listen to, and start becoming more inspired for me to do these kinds. Now, obviously, as I go on, these last couple of months, I try to talk about different things so that not everything I talk about is Nutbwallers related, even though this is I wanted this to be a supposed Nutbwallers podcast. Well, that idea that I made, it's to a point now where, yes, it's just, I don't know what I'm going to call my channel is still definitely Angry Wabbit, and I've had it for well over a decade now. So I'll still do these podcasts. It's just going to be a mix of what I talk about. Not everything is about where I stand with my life and, about where I stand with my friend circle, social circle, or even the Nutbwallers. I know I got a whole lot of those to start, but I'm just trying to cover different topics. Just last Thursday, I talked about a sports topic in a full segment, in this case regarding Dame Lillard, his return to Portland, and that lasted 20 minutes. So maybe a little bit more of that, based on, all the news that I've been hearing regarding the NBA, especially with this ridiculous Kobe slander. I want to touch on that. In regards to my viewership, man, I'm not expecting so many, right? As long as I got my constant viewers and constant supporters out there, meaning they're up to date with my videos like all the time. For example, guys like Robbie, guys like Neil, guys like Lisa and Mari, who has made comments in some of my videos I've uploaded. She claims she's still out there watching my videos every day, so it's good for her to do that, especially since I'm out of social media. And so, yeah, Neil's still out there and all that. The other guys that used to keep up with me, like Carlos, Julio, even Russ, since I got them back on text, I doubt they're not even keeping up anymore. The only reason why they're doing that is because of the fact that I was away from them. Like, I distanced myself from them, that I blocked all of them. I'm talking about my entire circle. So that's how they were able to keep up with me or more often. They're mainly just expressing their concerns as to why I did this and why I did that, But since I reconnected with these guys, they stopped. But I don't blame them. And if they don't want to, it's fine. I'm not forcing them to keep up to date with all my videos. So I'm cool with all these guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll have opportunities to hang out with them again. Look, I just hung out with Julio just last month, and it was a good hangout. I hung out with Neil about a couple times already, and that's all good. You know what I'm saying? I just saw Russ. I beat him in his home court. And that was my first time seeing Russ. My first time seeing the boss too, just last Wednesday. So, I'm slowly getting back to to my friend circle like that. But right now I'm still limited. And as far as viewership is concerned, I don't really expect so many. Okay, I just upload for fun. Like I said, as long as I have my supporters, as long as I have my constant viewers. They don't have to comment on every single video that I put up, but if they like what they see, they'll make a comment like Mari, or if something stands out to them, somebody like Lisa will comment. You know what I'm saying? I saw Lovely Mel make a comment. I'm guessing that Mari showed Lovely Mel that video that I made, of our friendship, my friendship with Lovely Mel. So, that's how she knew. She wouldn't have known because Lovely Mel also doesn't keep up with me. So, on where I stand with my uploading, nothing's gonna stop me. Whether some of the guys stop watching or keeping up with me on videos or not, or if it's I don't care how many views I get. It's I'll get some here and there. I've had about a few where they've reached like 1K or so. It just depends on what topic it is, but for the most part, I just like to do what I do. I like to talk about what I like to talk about. Whether I get some views or not, right? So it's just I enjoy what I do, and as far as this podcasting goes, I like doing it. It's it can get pretty addicting because I like to cover certain topics I like to talk about. So I'm just gonna keep it at that, and I feel like already I've reached close to 100, or I'm already at 100 uploads of my podcast. So, and yes, I'll do some other Nutballer ones as well, since now I've fully established this podcasting routine. So, yeah, that's all I gotta talk about. I just wanted to be more thorough on this entire thing, and who knows when I'll stop, but I don't think I will. So, this is something I like to enjoy, and and that's that. So this is a new thing I'm done this year, and I will continue at it and continue to talk about different things that come to mind. So you guys let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace.